So here I just want to add something to some of the other videos I have done on this subject of, how to get a job and how to write your resume and how to do your cover letter, all that kind of thing. Some of the things I didn't say in the last video, I just want to emphasize. So, for example, when you're waiting after you've written your cover letter and your resume and you've sent it out to lots of people, there's normally a kind of waiting period when you're waiting for companies to come back and ask you for interview, when you're waiting for recruitment companies to come back and suggest jobs to you. There's a period of waiting, and a lot of people get very anxious during that time, thinking, I haven't got a job, will I ever get a job, that kind of thing. So during this time, you need something positive to do anyway. So what I suggest is this, and it involves helping others while helping yourself. So one suggestion I have is think of your best subject area. Think of the thing that you know the best and write a course on that area. Maybe do a video course, maybe do a podcast on that particular subject area that will help other people. And the reason I suggest doing this is because just by writing that course or that presentation or that PowerPoint or that video or podcast, whatever you do, just by doing that, you're going to really consolidate in your mind your main subject area so that you really know what you're talking about, and you're going to sound much more confident later on when you go to interviews in that particular area. So this is a great way to make sure that you're clear about your subject area, and also to highlight any areas where you're not so clear, any areas that you're a little bit shaky on, anything that you're not quite sure of. So you have to research it and look it up and put it into your presentation. And by the time you've done all that and you've created your presentation or your video or your podcast, you will have really achieved something. You will feel much more confident in your subject area. You will have a product that you can show to people. You could even show it to your interviewers. You could send a link to your video or your podcast if you feel confident to do that, to show that you really do know your subject area. You can also, if you want to, put it out there publicly, like in LinkedIn or YouTube and so on. And that will increase people's knowledge about what you can do, and also about what they can learn about your subject area. So it helps in both ways. Also, if they're looking for jobs and they need to learn about that subject area, they're going to remember you because you helped them find a job because they learned about that subject area. And, if they get a job in that area, maybe they will want to use you in that new job. Maybe they can employ you. Maybe they can give you a contract. Maybe they can ask you to do some training, that kind of thing. So it's all going to come around, I believe. I believe anything you put out into the universe comes back to you. It's kind of like karma, juju, anything like that. So that's one option. Another option is to write an ebook. So if you're not very good at presentation skills or you're a little bit shy, an ebook is a great way to consolidate your knowledge in your subject area and to do a lot of research around your subject area and write it into an ebook. And actually, you'll be surprised how quickly an ebook will be filled, because ebooks can be very small. They can be just a few pages, they can be a number of chapters, or they can be huge. It's up to you. If you go to kdp.amazon.com, you can create an ebook from any Word document. So you can load up your Word document and create an ebook. They'll put a cover on for you if you want to as well. They'll generate the cover for you. And they'll market it out there in ebook land, which is basically Kindle land. They can even generate a real book for you in the real world, a paper book, a paperback book or even a hardcover book. That they cost a little bit more money for you to produce first, but you can do that. So if you wanted to go to an interview with an actual book in your hand and say, I've published this, that's a good option too. So kdp.amazon.com is a good way to do that. Now you can give all of these out free or partially free. So you can, for example, if you make videos, you can just put them on YouTube or LinkedIn, or podcasts on YouTube, or you can have like a course on Udemy or other websites. There's so many of them out there. LinkedIn as well accepts some course material in certain circumstances. Ebooks, again, you can make free or you can charge for them. If you make them free to Kindle Unlimited, there's a lot of people that use Kindle Unlimited. It's pretty much free to them because they've already paid for the Unlimited for the year or whatever. So that's another option. Now remember, in any of these videos, podcasts, ebooks, etc., make sure you have a LinkedIn link on your book or your video or what have you, or a website link so that people can find you when they're interested in that subject matter and they can come and ask you questions, and maybe you'll get some work out of it. Helping others at the time of need, whether it's your time of need or their time of need or both, comes back later. It really does. It's karma, the universe, whatever you like to call it, it comes back. So I really highly recommend that. Another thing I forgot to say on my earlier video is that you should learn to refactor your skills and experience. So any skills or experience that you have, you might think, oh, that's old style stuff that nobody uses in the modern world, and how will I get a job in the modern world? Well, an example here that I can give you is that there was a guy who had done a lot of IT work, a lot of software work for many years, but he'd never done cloud work, so he didn't think he could apply for cloud jobs, cloud roles. So the first thing I suggested to him was get a free account on AWS or something like that and start playing around with AWS. It's free. You can use it for quite a long time before you run out of money. They give you an account full of money that you can try things out. You can do it on Google as well and on Azure. And just play around with it just to learn how it works and so on. But also there's a lot of like YouTube courses that are free, YouTube videos about technologies and so on that are free, and you can use those to understand how you can reapply your skills and your experience and use them in the cloud. And it's really pretty easy in that case. For example, Bash and Linux are the two operating system tools that he used most in his current experience, and he used those on virtual machines in the real world. So in the cloud, we still use Bash and Linux, but we just use them in the cloud. And instead of calling them virtual machines necessarily, in AWS they have a name called EC2, but it's basically a virtual machine but in the cloud. And the GCP equivalent is compute in the cloud. And Azure actually calls them virtual machines. It calls them VMs. So it's actually the same technology. It's Bash and Linux and virtual machines. They're just in the cloud. So there's very little difference. You can apply all of your skills into the cloud very easily in that instance. Docker also is a technology that is often used on premise, but you can use it in the cloud in lots of ways. Every cloud provider has a serverless capability that you can use it in, and they also have virtual machines that you can use Docker on. So first of all, Docker can be used on virtual machines in the cloud. Docker can also be used on serverless capabilities, like Google Cloud has the App Engine, Azure has the App Service, AWS has a number of options, Elastic Beanstalk, Lightsail, Fargate, container services, and so on. Docker can be used in all of those, and all three clouds can use Docker in Kubernetes. So you can apply all your Docker skills in the Kubernetes environment, in the cloud. So, reframe or refactor your skills and experience for the new paradigm, if you like. Now, that's a very technical example, and the next one is going to be a technical example. But even if you've got skills in other areas, for example, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is affecting every single piece of work in any area right now, any industry, any area that you're working in. Artificial intelligence is something you should know something about. Watch a couple of YouTube videos so you know what artificial intelligence does in your industry, and then you can talk about it in your interview in a knowledgeable way. You don't have to pretend that you've got experience in actually using it or that kind of thing. You can use artificial intelligence to put your resume together, as I said in my previous video, and that will help you understand how it works and so on. But, you know, just being able to talk about it in your interview will make you a better candidate, perhaps, that they might consider for a role that has some AI involved or something to do with artificial intelligence, for example. The other example I wanted to give, this guy that came to me that had all these Bash and Linux and Docker and VM skills, he also had CI/CD skills. So CI/CD is all about deploying software into different environments, pretty much. So he's got a lot of skills in CI/CD over the years, but he's just never done it in the cloud. Well, in the cloud, a lot of his skills are going to be just the same, but in the cloud. So for example, Git and GitHub are also used in all three clouds. So you could use the same source control system as you use externally. Things like Jenkins can be used in the cloud on a virtual machine or a cloud Jenkins. Octopus, all kinds of tools like that, they can also all be used in the cloud. All the unit test tools are still going to be used in the cloud. NUnit, XUnit, JUnit, all of them. Things like SonarQube, SonarLint, and SNCC that test the code to make sure that they're high quality and they're secure and all that kind of thing. They're all used in the cloud just the same as they are on premise. So, you know, refactor your current skills and experience and work out how they're used in the cloud, and just express that in an interview, how you could use all of that experience you've got in the cloud. Other skills in the technology area are things like Hadoop and HDFS and Pig and Hive and Spark. A lot of people think that those skills are sort of old hat and no one uses them now. In the cloud, those skills are really, really useful. All three of the clouds have some kind of Hadoop-based products. They may not call it Hadoop sometimes. For example, EMRFS is the name for AWS Hadoop, basically. But it's basically Hadoop and HDFS, and you can use Pig and Hive and Spark and all those things on top. If you use Azure, they have a similar kind of architecture. They have tools that are based on Hadoop and HDFS and so on. And the same in Google Cloud. Google Cloud is actually almost pure Hadoop and HDFS and Pig and Hive and Spark and so on. It's really very open in many respects, and it pretty much uses those tools, but with a little bit of extra stuff thrown in. There's Apache Beam on top, which is, I think, called Dataflow in Google Cloud. A lot of the tools that you might have used in the past, they exist in the cloud, but they just have different names. So Dataproc in Google Cloud is actually Spark, pretty much. So, you know, pretty much any experience you've got in software, in technology and so on, can be reapplied to the cloud. Okay, so please don't think that because you haven't got any experience in the cloud, you can't apply for cloud jobs, especially if you do a little bit of work playing around with the cloud before your interviews. You know, set yourself up a little website in AWS or Google Cloud or Azure, just so that you know how it all works and how all the pieces fit together, something like that. Still in the cloud, you use all the technologies like HTML5 and JavaScript, and like React, especially React.js is very popular. You use the same kind of databases, so like SQL Server is basically used in all three clouds, it just has a slightly different name, and so on. So just learn where your existing skills can be kind of refactored to present them as cloud skills in that case. If you're more of a business person and not a techie, a lot of your skills can be reapplied in different industries, in different paradigms, for example, if you used to be a project manager, now you might be a Scrum Master in Agile. So just learn a little bit about the difference between the old way of doing project management and the new way of doing Scrum and Agile. And that, you know, there's a lot of stuff that is very similar. You can do a course to help you transition, that kind of thing. there's a lot of ways of just refactoring your skills and experience and making yourself sound much more desirable for more modern jobs, more modern roles. So just think about that in your case and see how you can refactor yourself and rebadge yourself, remarket yourself, if you like, to recruiters or to companies and so on. I really highly recommend YouTube. Just go in there and search on different criteria to find, a video that explains how your skill can be marketed in the more modern world, that kind of thing, or how you can transition, or what new skills you can pick up, and so on. Okay, so that's it for today's fireside chat. So hope to see you again soon. Bye. Thanks.